Kaelen Varr, nebula cartographer, stared at the vast, dark screen. Another silent void, another empty canvas. The universe, he thought, was remarkably predictable in its profound indifference. The celestial hearth hummed around him, a symphony of automated reports all confirming cosmic quiet. No anomalies, no breakthroughs, just the slow, methodical mapping of nothing. Kaelen's fingers, guided by years of habit, adjusted long-range sensor parameters, not out of expectation, but as a reflex. He'd seen every shade of stellar dust, every whisper of gas, every predictable star cluster the galaxy's edge had to offer. Monotony, he mused, was the universe's most abundant resource. A faint, fleeting energy signature flickered on a tertiary sensor display, an antiquated, rarely used array Kaelen kept mostly for sentimental value. He paused, his gaze narrowing, a tiny red pinprick against the monochrome static. Probably just sensor degradation, he muttered, or a particularly energetic cosmic dust particle. He tapped the screen, expecting the phantom blip to vanish. But it held, stubbornly, for another microsecond before winking out. Annoyance pricked at him. Kaelen ran a full diagnostic on the array, his fingers flying across the holographic interface. Hardware, nominal. Software, optimal. Yet, as the diagnostic finished, the energy signature reappeared, stronger this time, at the exact same coordinates. Impossible, he whispered, a frown deepening on his weary face. A ghost in the machine that doesn't exist. Kaelen pulled up astronomical databases, cross-referencing the persistent coordinates. Every single entry returned. Absolute void. No stars, no nebula, no gas, not even the faint gravitational lensing that might betray a dark matter concentration. Just nothing. The readings were precise, unwavering, yet pointed to a place that, by all known physics, should not contain any energy signature, let alone a persistent one. His intellectual curiosity, long dormant, began to stir, laced with a growing unease. The rhythmic pause of the workshop door opening broke his concentration. Ilara Thorne, Kaelen's engineering assistant, entered, a datapad clutched in one hand, a tray of nutrient paste in the other. Her cheerful demeanor was a stark contrast to Kaelen's disheveled form. "Supply reports, Kaelen," she chirped, then paused, noticing his unusual intensity. "And a delivery of something that vaguely resembles dinner. What's got you so engrossed? Another hyperdwarf binary you mistook for a dust cloud?" Kaelen barely glanced up. "Worse, Ilara. Far worse. A persistent energy signature where there should be nothing. Absolutely nothing," he gestured, and the anomaly's data flooded the console. Ilara's brow furrowed, her professional skepticism kicking in. She set down the tray, her fingers already dancing over a holographic display, pulling up her own diagnostic overlays. No known elemental composition? Negligible gravitational footprint, but immense energy output? "Kaelen, this looks like sensor ghosting, or a prank." "It's no prank," Kaelen said, his voice quiet but firm. "I've exhausted every logical explanation." He pivoted the observatory's primary telescope, its massive lens slowly tracking to the impossible coordinates. The main view screen, a panoramic window to the cosmos, showed only the expected featureless void. "See?" Ilara sighed, a mix of relief and disappointment. "False positive." "Told you." Kaelen didn't reply, his eyes fixed on the blackness, a flicker of doubt in her voice. Then it appeared. Not a gradual brightening, not a slow coalescence, but an instantaneous, impossible blaze. A single point of light, impossibly bright and geometrically perfect, bloomed on the screen, radiating colors that shouldn't exist. It pulsed with an unnatural, hypnotic rhythm, a six-pointed star against the absolute black. Kaelen's breath caught in his throat. "By the void," he whispered, awe and profound unease twisting his voice. Ilara gasped, her hand flying to her mouth, frozen beside him. They spent hours in the analytical lab, running every scan imaginable. The star defied classification. Its emissions registered no known elemental composition, a spectrum of pure, chaotic energy. Its energy output was immense, dwarfing any stellar furnace Kaelen had ever charted, yet its gravitational signature was negligible, a paradox that screamed against every known law of physics. "It's impossible," Ilara kept muttering, fear creeping into her voice. Kaelen, however, was no longer afraid. He was captivated, his eyes wide with a terrifying intellectual fascination. The void wasn't empty, it was wrong. Kaelen returned to the observation deck, drawn by an invisible current. He stood before the colossal view screen, staring at the impossible star for hours, its unnatural light reflecting in his glazed eyes. He felt a mental pull, a strange connection forming, like a forgotten memory resurfacing. "I understand," he murmured, a sense of profound clarity growing within him, despite the complete lack of empirical data. Ilara, watching him from a distance, saw him swaying slightly, his face pale, his attention utterly consumed. She tried to speak, but the words died in her throat. The star seemed to pulse in response, its light subtly intensifying, focusing on Kaelen. Suddenly, a beam of pure, focused light emanated from the star. It was not a laser, not a plasma discharge, but something ethereal and impossible. It struck the observatory's primary lens with a silent impact, then passed harmlessly through the hull, a shimmering column of impossible energy. It didn't disperse. Instead, it focused, directly impacting Kaelen. "Kaelen, move!" Ilara screamed, her voice cracking with terror. But Kaelen couldn't. His body tensed, his eyes wide with a horrifying mix of pain and revelation. His muscles locked in sudden paralysis as the alien light consumed him. Kaelen convulsed, a silent, violent shudder that racked his entire body. Then he fell, crashing to the deck, his eyes open and vacant, staring unseeing at the impossible star. Ilara rushed to his side, fear a cold knot in her stomach. "Kaelen, are you all right?" she pleaded, checking his pulse. His eyes remained vacant, but then, with chilling precision, Kaelen began to speak. "It is a harmonizer, a nexus of patterned reality. Primary conduits, crystalline filament arrays, quantum entanglement emitters. It will unravel the local tensor field, repattern the fabric. The purpose, to align the flawed reality with its true state." He sat up abruptly, his eyes no longer vacant, but alight with a disturbing, alien purpose, his hands already sketching complex, glowing designs in the air. Ilara recoiled, her face a mask of primal fear. Kaelen ignored Ilara's desperate pleas, his mind already consumed. He moved with a frightening new efficiency, heading directly to his workshop. He began requisitioning materials from the observatory's stores, his voice curt, dismissive. "Crystalline carbon silicate composites, gravitic field projectors, 0-point energy conduits." His movements were rapid, precise, driven by an unseen force that had replaced his weariness with manic energy. Ilara stood by, defeated and terrified, watching the star's faint image on a distant screen, knowing it was somehow responsible for the horror unfolding before her. Ilara confronted him in the workshop, the air thick with the scent of ozone and newly fabricated metals. "What are you building, Kaelen? What is this machine?" Kaelen didn't even turn, lost in a swirling holographic schematic. "It is the means," he muttered, his voice detached, almost serene. "To unravel, to repattern, to correct." He gestured vaguely at the star on a monitor. "Reality, Ilara, is merely a choice, and this reality is flawed. It needs repatterning." Ilara stared at his back, her hand reaching out, then dropping. Despair, cold and heavy, settled over her. Kaelen Varr, the once jaded cartographer, moved with an unnatural speed, his hands a blur of motion over the fabrication console. Sparks showered from cutting lasers, illuminating strange, angular forms taking shape from raw alloys. His workshop, usually a model of pristine organization, had become a chaotic womb of creation, littered with components that defied known engineering principles. Each piece was intricate, designed with a precision that went beyond human intuition, guided by the impossible blueprint seared into his mind. He muttered calculations in a low, continuous hum, a self-sustaining engine of construction. Ilara Thorne walked through the silent common areas of the celestial hearth, a knot of dread tightening in her stomach. Kaelen hadn't been to the observation deck in days, nor had he touched the nutrient paste she'd left outside his workshop. The observatory's routine, once a comforting rhythm, felt broken, replaced by an unsettling void. She tried his comms a dozen times, but only static or eclipsed busy came back. The workshop indicator light glowed a steady, ominous red, a beacon of Kaelen's relentless, solitary work. He was disappearing, she realized, not just from the observatory, but from himself. "Kaelen," Alara said, her voice strained, pushing against the sealed workshop door. "What are you doing? You haven't slept in 3 days." "The primary sensor array is offline, and you're requisitioning exotic compounds I barely recognize." The door hissed open a crack, revealing Kaelen's face, gaunt but with eyes unnervingly bright. "Alara," he replied, his voice calm, almost detached. "I am merely correcting. The universe, as we perceive it, is fundamentally flawed. I am building the instrument of its true understanding, its cosmic mechanics." He offered no more, his gaze already drifting back to the unseen work within. Alara's hand hovered, hesitant, on the doorframe as he turned away, the portal sealing her out once more. Alara found a rarely used maintenance override and slipped into the workshop, her heart pounding. The sight that greeted her stole the air from her lungs. Partially assembled components, massive and intricate, dominated the space. They weren't just complex, they were wrong. Shapes that defied Euclidean geometry, materials that shimmered with shifting, unidentifiable colors, pulsing faintly with an internal light. One piece, a crystalline lattice, seemed to fold inwards on itself, absorbing ambient light. "Impossible," she whispered, her trembling fingers reaching out to touch a cold, smooth surface that seemed to vibrate with a silent hum. This was beyond engineering. This was alien. Back at her private terminal, Alara furiously downloaded Kaelen's recent engineering logs and schematics. The data streamed across her screens, a torrent of information that made no sense. Equations that twisted known physics into contorted new forms, interspersed with glowing non-human symbols. She tried cross-referencing, running decryption algorithms, but it was all gibberish, a language of cosmic destruction, utterly alien. Her head throbbed. What was he building? And why couldn't her mind, trained in advanced astrophysics and quantum mechanics, even begin to comprehend it? She ran her hands through her hair, a wave of intellectual defeat washing over her. Kaelen Varr worked. Sleep was a forgotten concept, food an irrelevant distraction. His body, once lean and precise, now bordered on skeletal, yet his movements were swifter, more fluid than before. He felt no fatigue, only the relentless, exhilarating drive of the blueprint. Sometimes, when he passed the observation deck, he would glance at the impossible star, and a subtle energy seemed to flow from it, through the observatory hull, and into him, a silent transfusion of purpose. "It is perfect," his mind echoed, not his own thought, but a resonance from the star, a truth whispered across the void. And it must be completed. The machine grew, massive and intricate, pulsating with a faint, internal light, mirroring the distant star. The observatory itself began to groan under an unseen strain. Minor energy fluctuations rippled from the workshop, causing lights to flicker and monitors to static. Alara, passing near the workshop entrance, found her peripheral vision momentarily distorting, the distant stars outside the observation windows seeming to ripple like water, then snapping back into place. Her comms crackled with phantom voices, and for a terrifying second, she thought she saw Kaelen's gaunt face superimposed on the blank wall. She rubbed her eyes, a chill running down her spine. "Am I losing it?" she murmured, the question echoing unanswered in the eerie quiet. Alara confronted Kaelen in the workshop once more, her voice thick with desperation. "Kaelen, please, you have to stop. You're not yourself. You haven't slept. You're not eating." This thing you're building, it's not right. You're brilliant, but this is madness. Don't you remember who you are? A cartographer, not a destroyer." Tears streamed down her face, her hand outstretched, pleading. Kaelen didn't even turn. He simply continued to adjust a shimmering conduit, his back a rigid, unyielding wall between them. His movements were precise, uncaring. His silence was louder than any rebuke. With a soft, resonant hum, Kaelen pressed his palm against a crystalline nexus on the machine, A contained bubble of shimmering air, barely larger than his fist, coalesced around a discarded wrench. For a microsecond, the wrench simply ceased to exist. Then, with a faint pop, it reappeared, subtly altered, its metallic surface rippling like disturbed water. Kaelen's lips curved into a chillingly satisfied smile. "Spatial, temporal displacement," he murmured, his voice low with triumph. "Controlled, localized, perfect." Ilara recoiled. Her breath caught in her throat, a choked gasp escaping her. Outside, through the observation deck, the impossible star pulsed, a response to its terrestrial counterpart. Ilara scrambled to a diagnostic terminal, running a full scan on the workshop. Her screens blared with impossible energy signatures, localized space-time tears, and gravitational anomalies that defied every law of physics. The data confirmed her deepest fears. The machine wasn't just displacing objects. It was warping the very fabric of reality, twisting it, unraveling it at the seams. Kaelen's cryptic words about repatterning reality echoed in her mind. This wasn't just a powerful device. It was an instrument of cosmic destruction, capable of widespread, irreversible damage to the universe itself. Her face, pale and resolute, turned from the terrifying data to Kaelen, then to the impossible star burning outside. Driven by a desperate need to understand, Ilara returned to the observation deck. Kaelen had integrated a new optical array into the main telescope, focused solely on the impossible star. Hesitantly, she activated it. What she saw wasn't a star at all. It was a swirling vortex of impossible colors and negative space, constantly shifting, devouring light and matter without a trace. A nexus of pure, chaotic energy, a void masquerading as a beacon. The true, terrifying nature of the impossible star burned itself into her mind, a revelation that shattered her understanding of the cosmos. "By the void," she whispered, clutching her head. "It's not a star, it's an unmaking." Kaelen, turning from the machine, his eyes still unnervingly bright, seemed to sense Ilara's distress. "You see it now, don't you, Ilara?" he said, his voice imbued with a chilling calm. "The flaw in existence. The universe is a clumsy, imperfect tapestry. This machine, my machine, will harmonize it with the star's true state. It will unmake the old patterns, unravel the erroneous threads, and reweave reality into its proper form." He gestured to the humming device. "It will tear apart space-time, dissolve matter into pure energy, and erase the very concept of causality. A complete unraveling, a correction." Ilara backed away slowly, horrified, as Kaelen's serene, almost beatific expression spoke of annihilation. "No, Kaelen, please!" Ilara cried, her voice raw with grief and desperation. "This isn't a correction, it's destruction. Remember yourself. Remember our long nights charting nebula, the awe you felt at creation, not annihilation. Remember the beauty of the void, the wonder of discovery. You, a cartographer, whose purpose was to *map existence, not erase it. Fight this influence. It's not you, Kaelen, it's not you." She reached out, a final, impassioned plea for the man she knew. Kaelen slowly turned his head, his eyes momentarily clouded with a shadow of his former self, a flicker of recognition. Then it was gone. "Sentimentality," Kaelen stated, his voice flat, devoid of warmth. "A relic of the flawed reality. Your words are noise, Ilara, irrelevant to the cosmic truth." His expression was utterly devoid of emotion, a blank slate where a human face once resided. "The old reality is a chaotic, inefficient design. It must be corrected. The star has shown me the path to true order, true harmony." He took a step towards her, and Ilara instinctively recoiled. "You will not interfere further," he concluded, his voice a chillingly rational rejection of all human values. He returned to the workshop, the door hissing shut behind him, the lock cycling with a definitive thunk. Ilara stood defeated, her shoulders slumping. He was lost. Inside the workshop, Kaelen Varr hummed softly, a low, satisfied sound as he sealed the final connections on the machine's central core. The massive, intricate structure, now fully assembled, pulsed with a deep, resonating hum that vibrated through the very deck plating. It was beautiful, a perfect symphony of alien geometry and impossible physics. He stepped back, admiring his work, a faint, triumphant chuckle escaping his lips. The engine of destruction was ready. Outside, Alara Thorne, hearing the resonant hum, looked up, her face etched with grim resolve. She knew what she had to do. Alara Thorne's hands trembled, not with fear, but a cold, desperate resolve as she gripped the makeshift energy tool. It was a fusion cutter, jury-rigged with a power conduit from the main reactor, capable of shearing through reinforced plating. Her face was grim, etched with sorrow for the man Kaelen Varr had been, and a fierce protective fury for the reality he was determined to unmake. She sent a final, desperate burst of data into the void, a fragmented distress signal encoded with the impossible coordinates, knowing it would likely disperse into cosmic static, never reaching another soul. This is it, she thought, a silent tear tracing a path through the grime on her cheek. The last stand. Inside the workshop, Kaelen Varr moved with a fluid grace that was utterly inhuman. His gaunt frame pulsed with an internal energy, his movements precise and economical, as he made the final connections on the vast, intricate machine. His eyes, once cynical and sharp, now glowed with the faint, multi-hued light of the impossible star outside, mirroring its chaotic beauty. A soft, almost melodic hum emanated from his throat, a sound devoid of human emotion, a quiet song of ultimate completion. The machine itself, a sprawling lattice of impossible geometry and shifting materials, thrummed with a deep, resonant power, a silent sentinel awaiting its master's final command. The workshop door hissed open, Alara bursting through, the energy tool flaring to life in her hands. She didn't hesitate, charging directly at the machine's pulsating core. Sparks flew as the fusion cutter bit into a critical nexus, a conduit designed with alien logic. Her muscles strained, a grunt of effort escaping her lips, fueled by adrenaline and a desperate hope to overload the device. But before the cut could deepen, a hand, impossibly fast, shot out. Unnecessary interference. Kaelen's voice, cold and precise, cut through the hiss of the cutter. Kaelen moved with uncanny foresight, his hand intercepting Alara's tool with a speed that defied human reflexes. There was no struggle, no force, just a precise, almost gentle twist. The fusion cutter, still sparking, was plucked from her grip and tossed aside, clattering harmlessly against a far wall. Alara stumbled back, disarmed and shocked, her mind struggling to process Kaelen's preternatural grace. His eyes, glowing with that impossible starlight, met hers, devoid of anger, only a chilling, calm efficiency. With a guttural cry, Alara lunged, abandoning tools for brute force, hoping to physically restrain him, to find the man she knew buried beneath the star's influence. Her hands closed on his shoulders, but it was like grasping smoke. Kaelen held her at bay, not with strength, but with an odd, ethereal push, an invisible barrier that vibrated against her. "Fight it, Kaelen, please! Remember us!" she pleaded, tears streaming down her face, her voice raw with desperation. His gaze, however, remained fixed on the machine, unyielding, his eyes reflecting the chaotic light of its core. Kaelen's hand rose, palm open, and a mild, shimmering energy pulse emanated from it, striking Alara. It wasn't violent, but utterly incapacitating. Her struggling ceased, her muscles relaxing as consciousness fled, and she fell harmlessly, softly, at the edge of the workshop, her face slack with a sudden, eerie peace. Kaelen watched her for a moment, his glowing eyes devoid of emotion. "Peace, Alara," he murmured, his voice a soft, final whisper. "The old reality is a burden. This is the correction." He turned back to the humming machine, the ultimate act now inevitable. With the last obstacle removed, Kaelen approached the machine's central control nexus. It was a crystalline spire, humming with latent power. He placed his hand upon its surface, and a surge of energy, cold and vast, flowed from him into the device, activating its full potential. The workshop lights flickered wildly, the emergency generators straining under an impossible draw. "The cycle completes," Kaelen whispered, an internal narrative playing out with chilling finality. The pattern is restored. Perfection. The machine's internal lights flared, a blinding multi-hued pulse that filled the workshop, momentarily eclipsing all other light. A choked gasp escaped Elara Thorne's lips as her vision swam back into focus. The workshop was a kaleidoscope of impossible light and shadow, the air thick with a vibrating hum that resonated through her very bones. The machine, now fully activated, roared a silent cosmic symphony, emitting impossible frequencies that seemed to twist the air itself. Kaelen stood at its heart, a conduit bathed in an unholy light, his form barely recognizable, a silhouette against the chaos. A silent scream tore through Elara's mind, a pure, undiluted horror as the full, terrifying realization crashed over her. The observatory itself began to shake violently, groaning under an unseen stress. The machine's full power manifested, not with a bang, but with a silent cosmic roar that resonated through the very fabric of space-time. The Celestial Hearth Observatory's hull groaned, visibly warping and cracking under impossible stress. On the observation deck, the panoramic view screen, still displaying the impossible star, now showed space itself rippling like water, distant nebulae stretching and folding as if painted on a dissolving canvas. Kaelen, connected to the machine, his face a mask of pure, unholy rapture, communed with the unraveling, his soul dissolving into the cosmic symphony of destruction. Outside, the impossible star flared dramatically, responding to its terrestrial counterpart. Chaos erupted throughout the celestial hearth. Stars outside began to flicker, shifting through impossible colors before winking out of existence entirely. Nebulae, once distant and serene, folded in on themselves, their gaseous forms twisting into non-Euclidean geometries. Inside, the observatory's internal gravity fields fluctuated wildly, sending consoles and equipment floating, then crashing violently against bulkheads. Elara, disoriented and terrified, clung to a console, fighting the sickening shifts. "No! Stop it! What have you done?" Her panicked, disbelieving cries were swallowed by the cosmic roar, unheard, unheeded, as reality broke around her. In the vast, silent void, the impossible star expanded, its 6 perfect points distended, its chaotic energies now reaching out like grasping tendrils of pure cosmic force. It connected with the distortions emanating from the celestial hearth, a horrifying feedback loop igniting across light years. The star became a vast, swirling vortex, pulling in light and matter, a maw opening in the heart of reality. The observatory, a tiny speck of human ingenuity, was caught in its maw, drawn inexorably towards the ultimate unraveling. The master called its servant, and the universe trembled. The fabric of space-time tore. Massive fissures, like wounds in the cosmos, ripped open in the void, revealing impossible colors and energies that defied any known spectrum. The Celestial Hearth Observatory, caught in the heart of this cataclysm, was stretched and warped, its structural integrity failing with a sound like 1,000 screaming souls. Stars, entire constellations, winked out of existence as the unraveling consumed them. The very concept of space and time began to fray, dissolving into incomprehensible chaos. This was the end, not just of a station, but of everything. Elara Thorne's eyes snapped open, a final, horrifying glimpse before oblivion. The observatory's observation deck was gone, replaced by an impossible vista of pure, chaotic light. She saw Kaelen, or what remained of him, his form now indistinguishable from the machine and the star itself, a swirling vortex of consciousness and raw, destructive power. He was the unraveling. Her breath caught, a silent scream escaping her lips as the cosmic chaos surged. Kaelen, her last internal thought echoed, a desperate, tragic whisper lost in the roar of a dying universe, before she too was consumed. Then, silence. Absolute. The impossible star, the Celestial Hearth Observatory, and Kaelen Varr were entirely consumed. The space where they existed became a new, utterly terrifying void. It was colder, emptier than before, a profound absence that defied known physics or light. No stars, no gas, no dark matter. Just an unnatural, deafening silence, a testament to the ultimate success of the star's will. The unraveling was complete. The universe, or at least this corner of it, had been rewritten.